mother died of swamp lung just after giving birth to Azalea, and her father, in his grief, had married a cold beauty called Snapdragon from the next village west. There was antagonism from the start between stepmother and stepdaughter. Though she was all elegance and light-heartedness in the presence of Poison's father, she hated the violet-eyed girl, and Poison hated her. It was to spite Snapdragon that she took the name Poison at her name day. She hadn't always been called so. What kind of parent would call their newborn Poison? Her name had been Foxglove until her 14th birthday, when the whole village gathered on the central platform to hear the name she had chosen for herself. It was tradition among the marsh people. Girls were named after flowers and herbs, boys after animals or features of the landscape. On their name day, when they were counted as adults, they were allowed to choose their own name. Many, like Snapdragon, kept the one they'd been given. Others, like her woodcutter father, Hugh, took the traditional names of their profession. On the morning of her name day, Foxglove and Snapdragon had argued bitterly. "You'll never do as I tell you, never! You'll never be as a good girl should, always full of questions, never accepting things as they are, always full of spite for me. You'll never make your father happy, never marry a strong young man. You're poison to this family, poison!" And so she became. When she announced her new name, there was barely a flicker of surprise among the villagers. She'd always been an outcast to them, strange and alien. Only her father and stepmother sucked in their breath in horror. But by then, it was too late. Poison she was, and poison she would be forever. 2 years had passed since that day, and Poison was 16 now, on the awkward cusp of womanhood. Her 16th birthday had been entirely forgotten by both her parents this year, and there had been nobody else to celebrate it with her. She didn't care. It was just a day like any other. Why should she be compelled to feel glad on that one particular day, to dance and drink marsh wine and be merry, to commemorate the moment that she was forced moist and bloody from her mother's womb? What was there to celebrate about that? She was happier before, when the world was a hot red warmth, and there was only the sound of her mother's heartbeat and the muffled reverberations of her comforting voice. Better that than this cold, dreary land of grief and misery. She envied the villagers her own age, who could forget their cares in the joy of a celebration, who aspired to nothing more than a good husband or a pretty wife, to raise children to perpetuate themselves. She couldn't think like that. She couldn't shrug off the fact that 1 in 5 of them died of swamp lung by their 30th birthday, that every other child was stillborn, that boys and girls disappeared every month and were never seen again, snatched up by marsh creatures or fairies. The older villagers grieved, and they were full of woe at the harshness of life, but not one of them lifted a finger to do anything about it. People were much happier if they accepted their lot, it seemed. But she could not bring herself to accept hers. To marry a young man of the village, to settle down and idle her life away, bearing children and caring for them. She'd rather cast herself in among the goatfish. At least that would be a quick death, instead of the long, lingering one that staying in Gull would be. "You have a touch of the old blood in you, Poison," Fleet had told her once. "From back in the time when men and women were strong, and they ruled the realm." "What happened to them?" she had asked, sitting as she always did on the rug before the fire, with the old man in his battered wicker chair, taking puffs from the hookah that stood on the floor next to him. "They got soft," Fleet replied. "Living was easy. The realm was at peace. Man doesn't like to be at peace. It goes against his nature."